Have you ever received a phone call where the voice on the other end begins their conversation and you have to stop them and say, who is this? Once they identify themselves, you're very sheepish about the idea. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize your voice. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, Day 3 of Yom Teruah commentary. Let's go to the book of Bamidbar, or Numbers, chapter 29, and read verse 1. And in the seventh new moon, on the first day of the new moon, you have a set-apart gathering. You do no servile work. It is Yom Teruah, the day of the shout, the day of the noise, the day of the trumpet blast for you. So someone calls and you don't recognize the voice. It could be that it's just too much noise or background chatter going on one side or the other, maybe both. Or they caught you in the middle of a nap. Or you're just busy, you're distracted. You got something else on your mind. All these may indeed have something to play when Yeshua, by his Spirit or by his word, speaks to us, and we don't recognize his voice. So there are those moments and those occasions where he is speaking to us and we just simply do not recognize who it is that is talking to us. In the book of Revelation, chapter number 1, a similar scenario takes place. Yochanan is stating that he is on the island of Patmos. And it says in verse number 8, I am the Aleph and the Tav, beginning and the end, says Yahweh, who is, and who is to come. And I, Yochanan, both your brother and co-sharer in pressure and in the reign and endurance of Yeshua Messiah, came to be on the island that is called Patmos for the word of Elohim, for the witness of Yeshua Messiah. Verse 10, I came to be in the Spirit on the day of Yahweh, and I heard behind me a loud voice as of a trumpet, saying, I am the Aleph and the Tav, the first and the last. Write in a book what you see and send it to the 7 assemblies of Asia, to Ephesus, Smyrna, to Pergamos, to Thyatira, to Sardis, to Philadelphia, and to Laodicea. So, Yochanan hears what sounds like a trumpet, a teruah, a loud blast. But this voice of a trumpet self-identifies as the Aleph Tav, the first and the last. Now, where does this come from? If we go back to the book of Isaiah, chapter number 44, if I can get there, and verse number 6, thus said Yahweh, sovereign of Israel and his Redeemer. A dual identity here. The sovereign of Israel and Israel's Redeemer. Who is Yeshua? Or who is the Redeemer? It is Yeshua. Yahweh Zavaot, Yahweh of hosts, or the captain of the host. I am the first and the last. Besides me, there is no Elohim. And who is like me, let him call and declare it and lay it before me, since I appointed the everlasting people. Who is that? The covenant people of Israel. And the events that are coming and those that do come, let them declare these to them. Do not fear, nor be afraid. Have I not since made you hear and declared it? You are my witnesses. Is there an Elohim besides me? There is no other rock. I know not one. The Yahweh Sevaot, the Redeemer, the sovereign of Israel, is identifying as the first and the last. Isaiah chapter 48. In verse 12 and 13, we read, Listen to me, O Yaakov and Israel, my called, I am he, I am the first, I am also the last. Also my hand has laid the foundation of the earth, and my right hand has stretched out the heavens. I call to them, let them stand together. The one who is the first, who is the last, which is the one that is identified to us here in the book of Revelation, chapter number 1. He's also recognizing himself as the one who's laid the foundations of the earth, who is the creator. This is spelled out a little further in Psalms chapter 33. In verse 6 through 9, we read, by the word of Yahweh, who is the word of Yahweh, Yochanan, chapter 1, tells us that it is Yeshua. By the word of Yahweh the heavens were made, and all their hosts by the spirit of his mouth. Gathering the waters of the sea together as a heap, laying up the deep in storehouses, let all the earth fear Yahweh. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of him. For he spoke, and it came to be. He commanded, and it stood fast. If we go down to verse number 12, blessed is the nation whose Elohim is Yahweh, the people whom he has chosen as his own inheritance. And verse number 20. Our being has longed for Yahweh, our help and our shield is he. Yahweh is the one who is the first, who is the last. And he says in Isaiah that when the troubles come, when the hard times come, he remains. He's the one who's established everything. He's the one who's established the everlasting people. When we go back to Revelation chapter number 1, continuing from what we saw, what Yochanan saw, he says in verse 12, I turned to see the voice, that is that trumpet blast, who was identified as the Aleph and the Tav, and having turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands. And in the midst of the 7 lampstands, one like the son of Adam, dressed in a robe down to the feet, girded about the chest with a golden band or girdle, and his head and hair were white as white snow, wool as snow, his eyes as a flame of fire, his feet like burnished brass, as if refined in a furnace, and his voice is the sound of many waters. Now the tone of the voice is changing, and it says, in his right hand he held 7 stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp 2-edged sword, and his face was as the sun shining in its strength. Now he identifies again as standing in the middle of 7 lampstands or 7 menorah, which are representative, he says, down in verse number 20. The secret of the 7 stars which you saw in my right hand, and the 7 golden lampstands or menorahs, the 7 stars are the messengers of the 7 assemblies, and the 7 lampstands which you saw are the 7 assemblies. Let's boil this all down. In the last days, even currently, these assemblies, these gatherings of the eternal people, Yaakov, Israel, Yah has assigned messengers to them. We used to say, well, that's the pastor of the church. He's the star. Maybe not so much. It is spiritual, sovereign ones, spiritual messengers who stand guard over these assemblies, or those that are typified as such. And Yeshua says, I'm standing in the middle of them. I am the Aleph, I am the Tav, the first and the last, the first letter, the last letter of the Hebrew Aleph-Bet. I am the Et, as the Aleph Tav forms. In Hebrew language, it is often a direct object indicator, as we shared many times before, but especially in Bereshit or Genesis 1:1, Yahweh created the heavens Et through Yeshua, the Aleph Tav, and Et, the earth, the Aleph Tav, Yeshua. All that is created was created through him. Colossians says, for him and by him. So this voice of the trumpet that we hear as we celebrate Yom Teruah and sound the various calls, listen for the voice of him who is standing in the midst of his people, guarding, supplying, protecting, leading, and delivering us, as He is indeed our Creator. He is the one worthy of our worship. We'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, shalom.